December 22nd, 2024. President-elect Donald Trump issues a provocative statement. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama by the U.S. The Panama Canal, a marvel of engineering and a linchpin of international commerce, has long symbolized cooperation and global interdependence. Today, it stands at the center of a bold declaration that could disrupt decades of diplomacy and stability. How did we arrive at this juncture? Why is the canal, over 2 decades after being handed over to Panama, once again the focus of international controversy? More importantly, what does this mean for the future of trade, power, and the delicate balance of global alliances? In this documentary, we unravel the unfolding drama of Trump's shocking call to reassess control over the Panama Canal. From its storied past to the high-stakes present, this is the story of a waterway that has become ground zero in a battle for influence, control, and the future of world trade. The Panama Canal is no ordinary waterway. For over a century, it has stood as a monument to human ingenuity, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and reshaping global trade routes. Completed in 1914 under U.S. control, the canal was more than just an engineering marvel. It was a strategic asset that transformed the United States into a global superpower. For decades, American oversight of the canal ensured its critical role in international commerce. But by the 1970s, a growing sense of nationalism in Panama led to calls for its return. This culminated in the signing of the Torrijos-Carter Treaties in 1977, agreements that promised to hand over control of the canal to Panama by the end of the 20th century. On December 31st, 1999, the Panama Canal was officially transferred to the Panamanian government. It was a historic moment, one that symbolized Panama's sovereignty and the end of an era of American control. Since then, the Panama Canal Authority has operated the waterway, generating billions of dollars in revenue and maintaining its role as a vital trade route. Nearly 5% of all global trade passes through this 50-mile corridor, making it indispensable for economies worldwide. But with its strategic importance comes vulnerability. In recent years, concerns have grown about foreign influence, particularly from China. Chinese companies have invested heavily in Panama, securing contracts to manage ports near the canal and financing infrastructure projects. While Panama insists its neutrality remains intact, critics argue that these developments signal a shift in power dynamics. It is against this backdrop that President-elect Donald Trump's controversial statement emerges. His assertion that the canal's tolls are exorbitant and his claim that America has been too generous for too long strike a chord with his supporters, but ignite fierce backlash abroad. This statement has left many wondering, is this rhetoric aimed at protecting American interests, or is it the opening salvo in a bid to regain control of one of the world's most strategic assets? As we delve deeper into the unfolding story, we must first examine the complex history, the rising tensions, and the potential implications of a U.S. attempt to reclaim the Panama Canal. Could this be a legitimate geopolitical strategy, or a gamble with far-reaching consequences? The Panama Canal is one of the greatest treasures of the modern world, and we built it. Yet, for decades, we've watched as America pays the highest tolls while others profit. It's time to fix that. It's time to bring control back where it belongs, right here in the United States. The crowd erupts in applause, but this statement sends shockwaves far beyond the rally stage. The international community is now on edge. Trump's remarks, though resonating with his base, have drawn sharp criticism from world leaders and trade experts alike. This is a dangerous path, says Dr. Elena Martinez, a Latin America specialist. The Panama Canal isn't just a waterway, it's a symbol of Panamanian sovereignty. Any attempt by the U.S. to interfere would spark widespread backlash, not only from Panama, but from the global community. But Trump's allies argue otherwise. They claim that America has allowed foreign powers, namely China, to gain too much influence over critical trade routes. Over the past decade, China has deepened its footprint in the region. Companies like Costco Shipping have invested in ports near the canal, while Chinese banks have funded major infrastructure projects in Panama. For Trump and his supporters, This growing presence is seen as a direct threat to American interests. The canal is more than a trade route. It's a strategic lifeline, explains retired Admiral James Crawford. If tensions with China escalate, their foothold near the canal could jeopardize America's ability to move military and commercial assets efficiently. In Panama, the reaction has been swift and unequivocal. Thousands have taken to the streets to condemn Trump's remarks. President José Raúl Mulino delivers a fiery address, declaring, "The Panama Canal is not for sale, nor will it ever return to foreign control. Our sovereignty is non-negotiable." The international community is deeply concerned. European leaders warn against any actions that might disrupt global trade. In a rare show of unity, Latin American nations issue a joint statement defending Panama's sovereignty and urging the U.S. to reconsider its stance. Back in Washington, opinions are divided. While some Republicans rally behind Trump, others express caution. Democratic leaders call for diplomacy, warning that any aggressive moves could lead to economic and political isolation. What's next? Experts suggest that Trump could take several paths. Economic sanctions on Panama might pressure the government to reconsider its toll policies. Alternatively, a push to renegotiate the Torrijos-Carter treaties could reopen discussions about shared control of the canal. But the most controversial option, military intervention, is also the most unlikely. While Trump has not explicitly suggested such a move, his rhetoric has raised fears of escalating tensions. If the U.S. were to take drastic action, the ripple effects would be catastrophic. The Panama Canal handles nearly 14,000 ships annually, moving goods valued at hundreds of billions of dollars. A disruption could paralyze supply chains, inflate prices, and trigger a global economic crisis. As the world watches, one question looms large. Is this merely political posturing, or is it the prelude to a seismic shift in global geopolitics? Tensions have reached a boiling point. President-elect Trump's statements have triggered a series of high-stakes diplomatic moves, covert maneuvers, and fierce public debates. Across the globe, allies and rivals alike are bracing for what comes next. We're exploring all options to ensure the United States is not taken advantage of, Trump declares, his tone resolute. "We built the canal, and we will not stand by while foreign powers undermine its purpose or its fairness to America." The media frenzy intensifies. Speculation runs rampant. What exactly does exploring all options mean? Is this a veiled threat or a negotiating tactic? Behind closed doors, reports emerge of U.S. naval exercises in the Caribbean, close enough to send a message, yet far enough to avoid direct provocation. Satellite images reveal increased American activity near strategic points, fueling concerns that a show of force may be imminent. The global community responds swiftly. A heated debate unfolds at the UN, where Panama's ambassador passionately defends the canal's neutrality. This is not just a Panamanian issue. It is a matter of international law and respect for sovereignty. Any unilateral action would set a dangerous precedent for the world. But the U.S. delegation counters, emphasizing the canal's importance to global security and fairness in trade. The stalemate at the UN underscores the gravity of the situation. This is no longer just an American or Panamanian issue. It's a crisis with global ramifications. In the streets of Panama, the mood is defiant. Crowds chant slogans and wave flags as President José Raúl Mulino addresses the nation. His speech, broadcast live to millions, is both a rallying cry and a plea for international solidarity. "We will not be intimidated. Panama stands united, and the canal will remain ours." Back in the U.S., Trump's inner circle is divided. Some argue for aggressive economic sanctions, believing they can pressure Panama without escalating to military conflict. Others advocate for restraint, warning that any misstep could alienate allies and plunge the global economy into chaos. But Trump, true to form, keeps everyone guessing. He hints at a major announcement, heightening the suspense. On January 20th, 2025, during his inauguration speech, Trump shocks the world once again. Instead of announcing aggressive actions, he calls for a new era of strategic partnerships. "We do not seek conflict or control," he declares. but fairness and respect. I am inviting Panama to the negotiating table, not to take back the canal, but to ensure it works for everyone, especially those who built it. Trump's pivot surprises both critics and supporters. In Panama, the announcement is met with skepticism but also relief that immediate conflict has been averted. World leaders express cautious optimism, hoping this move signals a shift toward diplomacy over brinkmanship. The crisis may not be over, but for now, the world breathes a sigh of relief. The Panama Canal remains a testament to human achievement, a vital artery of commerce, and a symbol of resilience. Whether this marks the beginning of a new chapter in U.S. Panama relations or the prelude to further tension remains uncertain. As the waters flow, so too does the story of the Panama Canal, a story of ambition, power, and the enduring quest for control over the lifelines of the world. The Panama Canal, an engineering marvel that has connected the world for over a century, holds more than just strategic importance. It embodies the intersection of ambition, global power, and the unyielding desire for control over the lifeblood of international trade. The recent rhetoric surrounding the canal reminds us that while the world's trade routes may seem like invisible forces guiding goods from one nation to the next, they are, in fact, the physical and ideological battlegrounds where nations assert their power. In the past, the Panama Canal was a tool for American dominance, a crowning achievement of U.S. ambition. Yet, today, its role as a symbol of global interconnectedness stands in stark contrast to the aggressive language of territorial reclamation. Donald Trump's provocative statements and the subsequent tensions they ignited have once again cast a spotlight on the question of control. Who has the right to manage, profit from, and shape the future of one of the world's most vital trade corridors? At the heart of the issue is not simply the canal itself, but the larger narrative of sovereignty, power, and the balance of international relations. Panama's staunch defense of its control over the canal speaks to a broader desire for autonomy, for nations to govern their resources without external interference. Yet, the United States' position underscores a deep-seated belief in the importance of safeguarding its interests, especially when those interests are tied to national security, economic stability, and global influence. What we've witnessed is not just a diplomatic flare-up, but a reminder that the forces shaping our world are not only driven by the flow of goods, but by the tug of competing ideologies. The Panama Canal has become more than just a waterway. It is now a symbol of the enduring struggle for power in a rapidly changing world. As this drama continues to unfold, we must ask ourselves, what does the future of global trade look like in an era of shifting power dynamics? Will the world see more conflict over resources that were once shared or viewed as neutral? Or will diplomacy ultimately prevail, leading to a new chapter in U.S. Panama relations, one where cooperation trumps confrontation? The events of the past few weeks have sparked intense debate, but they have also reignited our collective awareness of how interconnected our global systems truly are. The Panama Canal, for all its political and economic weight, serves as a reminder that no single nation or leader can ever fully control the forces that bind us. As the world holds its breath, we are reminded of the fragility of peace, the complexity of international relations, and the power of dialogue to bridge even the most polarized of perspectives. Whether this situation will de-escalate into a renewed partnership or spiral into further conflict is uncertain, but one thing remains clear: the stakes are too high for complacency. In the end, the true power of the Panama Canal lies not in the hands of any one nation, but in the shared commitment to ensuring that the flow of trade continues uninterrupted for the good of all. We'll continue to follow this story as it evolves and shapes the future of global politics and commerce. If you found this documentary thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe for more insightful coverage on the most pressing issues facing our world today. Thank you for joining us. Stay curious, stay informed, and always remember that the world's most important stories are often the ones we don't see coming. Until next time.